there was an article that came up from Cosmic Book News. It says Warner Brothers Discovery, high chance of bankruptcy, says wealth optimization service. I don't know what a wealth optimization service is, but it's interesting. So it says a personalized optimization service states that Warner Brothers Discovery has a high chance of going bankrupt. It's called
58%.
58%. And
but in what period of time are they talking about?
Yeah, so it says most of Warner Brothers' fundamental indicators such as probability of bankruptcy are part of a valuation analysis module that helps investors search for stocks that are currently trading higher or lower than their actual value.
Disney gets a less than 1% chance of bankruptcy despite the fact that they're losing more money than Warner Brothers.
Do you actually think there's a chance Disney could ever go bankrupt?
Well, I mean, hell, anything can happen. But the thing that Disney has going for it that Warner necessarily doesn't, or Discovery, is that the other different entities that they can make money off of. Like, if Disney's didn't have those damn parks, they would have been under a long time ago.
They're considered a park company first.
Yeah.
And basically the entertainment, the reason that Bob Iger wanted to buy so much IP is because he can fill the parks with the IP rather than creating it.
That's where they're making their money there. But yeah, they're to your point, they're losing billions, literally billions every quarter. But yeah, Warner's in debt. That's not been any sort of secret, definitely with this merger. I mean, there was a reason why AT&T said we want out. Yeah. Right? They said they saw the writing on the wall. They got into the entertainment game and they said, this ain't for us. Yeah. We getting out. Y'all can have this. So it's will they go bankrupt? I mean, it's very well possible. It's hard to imagine considering some of the properties it is that they have, but I'd argue that they're mismanaged. We're all going to point to the DCs, like, DC Comics being part of that. To be fair, they've never really made any money, and there's a reason why they've switched hands as many times as they have, though they've been under Warner or in some capacity for a very long time. But publications ain't making money for them like that anyway. They're making money off of merch and other deals like that, but it looks like that's not good enough because they did inherit a whole lot of debt. So it'll be interesting to see where it goes. But of the two, Disney and Warner, yes, Warner is more likely to go under as opposed to Disney.
What were their profitable movies this year other than Barbie?
For Warner Brothers?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
other than Barbie.
There was I thought
obviously
Warner had
not the Flash, obviously not Blue Beetle.
You're putting me on the.
No, they lost money on Flash.
Massively.
Flash lost X amount of hundreds of millions of dollars. Blue Beetle, and we know they didn't make any money off of that. They're not going to make any money off of Aquaman. So all the DC,
Black Adam also.
Oh, that lost money.
Oppenheimer was Warner Brothers. Made $900 million, made almost $1 billion.
So they made some money off of it.
Oh wait, does that mean Barbie was?
No.
I thought Oppenheimer was Universal.
No,
and that
Oppenheimer
was
was Universal. That
was the whole drama.
Because Christopher Nolan used to work for Warner Brothers, and then he switched to Universal to make Oppenheimer. Yeah, they had Five Nights at Freddy's. Was that Warner
made
Brothers?
a little money?
Wasn't that A24?
No, it wasn't A24. It was Blumhouse.
Oh, it was Blumhouse. Yes. Okay. So yeah, I don't know what other movies that they had that other than Barbie that would have made money this year, but that would have made the majority of their profits. Creed 3. I just put Warner Brothers movies 2023. Somebody's gonna have to let me know what the profitable movies were for them. When we're like going through it and we're covering them, I remember all of them. But
and Mario was Universal.
Yes. Yeah, so. Mario made a huge amount of money for them this past year. So
well, I guess they need to lean into the pink girly stuff.
We just saw that they said that Universal was the most profitable studio of the year this year because of
Barbie.
Oppenheimer. No, because of Oppenheimer and because of Mario.
Mario, gotcha.
Yeah, so right, so yeah, that's big for Universal. I said like on an episode this year, I said like when we're watching movies, Universal is the only like tag logo that doesn't fill me with dread now because most of their stuff just tends to remain on the fun. Oppenheimer isn't fun, but they're either
Disney
good or
like
fun.
only made money on Guardians of the Galaxy 3.
Yes.
That's literally the only one.
I mean, all of the. If we'd been talking about this before, I'd have pulled up. All
Disney had to lost. I mean, they lost money on everything.
Lost them tons.
Wish they lost money. Every Marvel Cinematic Universe, obviously Marvel's, that set, they might lose almost $500 million on that damn film.
Yeah.
Like, that's hard to conceptualize. That's a big number.
And The Flash would have cost DC as much, too, because of all the time it spent in post-production.
Well, yeah, that's how they're losing all the money. I mean, when you're spending $200 to $300 million plus marketing, then, yeah, you're set to have to make like $800 million to break even. That's your break even point.
There was I remember we did the topic where I said like all of the most profitable movies of the year this year cost $100 million. They stopped at $100 million on the budget, right? So Oppenheimer only cost $100 million, Barbie only cost $100 million, and when you make a movie for $100 million and you spend what $75 million on marketing, if you take the average that they do or the 1.25, right? So you have just less that has to come back to you. And then another one for a lot of these movies that a lot of us never take into account is rentals afterwards, which is still a thing. People like on-demand sales are still a thing for those movies that are mid-budget. That's where they make their money back, just like they used to in home video rentals or like on demand. Right. So you can still make your money back on that. But by that time, the news cycle's passed and nobody's talking about it anymore. So when they made Murder on the Orient Express, and then they made Death on the Nile. So they made almost no money in the theaters, but did fine on pay VOD. So you can justify making a sequel if the budget is low. It makes a little bit of it back on pay VOD. You can justify making another one. A lot of times because it keeps them with relationships with these directors and these actors. So they get to keep working with Kenneth Branagh, and that allows them to stay involved with that person.
Phil just sent us $20 and said, want me to bring you up some Christmas cupcakes.
I'm on a diet, bro.
I already had two, so I'm good. What about you, Eric?
I'm good.
Okay, thank you, Phil.
2 weeks without soda today, so I'm doing good. I'm good. All right, and speaking of what you said about Aquaman, it is funny because Jason Momoa says that he doesn't think he'll get to return as Aquaman. He says if the audience doesn't love it, then if the audience loves it, there's a possibility. But right now, I'm like, it's not looking too good. Well, yeah, because there's no interest in your.
Well, there's no interest there. Look. You talk about just incompetence. I mean, imagine doing this reboot thing and then still putting out Flash, Blue Beetle, and that, where you've essentially just, I mean, you took whatever you want, name your blunt object, right to the knees of anything that was being produced within that window, because you've essentially told the audience that it doesn't matter. I don't understand it.
Crisis party.
Thank you.
Super chats trigger the crisis party.
Whatever works.
Yeah, like for these studios right now, for Aquaman especially, it's also because we all know that they're sitting on the edge of what James Gunn is supposed to start creating, and who actually wants to join something if they know that it's about.
It doesn't matter. That's why. Look, it hurt all of the properties that they came out with. None of it matters because of the fact that, hey, we're doing this big reboot, which, you know, maybe more people are excited about that than I am, and I ever have been. But yeah, it's just such a stupid move. It's a really dumb move to sit up there and say, hey, none of these movies matter, but we want you to come see them. It's
also funny because one of my biggest problems with DC movies, at least, was that they never seemed to be able to stick to an idea and follow it through. They would change course midway through. They'd announce things and then cancel things. They'd constantly be giving updates and then backtrack on those things. So you never felt like there was like firm footing. Marvel's falling into this now a lot because projects get canceled or they get the length shortened or things like that. But DC always seemed wishy-washy, and then they hire James Gunn, who can't stay off Twitter and is giving constant updates that then change. They needed to hire someone who's like, look, this is when we're going to start filming, and then only do promotional material up until you get to the filming process, and just do promotion and don't do all of these half spoilers, half He's talking about cameos the other day, how cameos are the death of these films, even though he loves to do cameos in his movies. We got two $20 here. One from Bender the Offender says, Disney shot themselves in the foot when they didn't allow Johnny Depp to star in the new Pirates movie. The franchise would be dead without him.
You mean the female-led one?
Yeah. That'd be really
I don't know
funny
if Johnny Depp was going to transition for that one, but
if they did a female like Pirates of the Caribbean movie, but they just
weren't they talking about Margot Robbie?
Yes.
Being
that fell
lead.
through. They're not.
That
doing
fell
that.
through.
They're not doing that
Ryan
anymore.
the Eating Warrior said, "I am loving the Alpha Core comic. Great story and awesome artwork. Thanks for what you do, my guy. I'm always on the lookout for the next Ripaverse comic." Oh,
shout out! Appreciate you. I'm glad you love it. Everybody's getting their Alpha Core now, and yeah, just keep telling us what you think, man.
All right, guys. Let's talk a little bit. So we already got into all the Netflix stuff. We did that. Basically the data dump says that like the 80% of the shows, over 10,000 titles, just get no views. Less than a million hours total accrued view time. which is insane considering a lot of these their shows that have endless amounts of seasons and stuff, right? So it should accrue that time really, really easily, but it's not. And I think that really, the article I was reading was basically saying like mediocre entertainment is here to stay, meaning like Night Agent, which I don't know anyone that has actually watched it, was their #1 most watched show this year. I don't know anyone that's seen it. And Wednesday, which is the show that got all the buzz and all the promotion, was like #4. And I don't know if you can really trust the numbers. I think Netflix is a publicly traded company, so I don't think they could legally lie to you, but they just can't lie to you about fiscal numbers, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if that, do you think that extends to hours watched?
Well, look, man, there's a lot of funny numbers, funny money with these companies, any company that's big. It's not anything exclusive to Netflix or anything, but I believe that. I do believe that there's a mountain of shows that nobody's really watching, and they have those, that carry kind of the entire company, if you want to call it that. So I believe that part. I don't understand really the business plan there. It's clearly working, at least in some capacity, because they're at least profitable in some kind of way. So it's working, but I wonder, we kind of were talking about this off air about, now that everybody's talking about streaming residuals and how that looks. I'm like, how do you quantify that? Because there's no way that you're getting a return.
Yeah.
So it's like when you talk about getting residuals, it's like residuals of what?
Yeah.
Nobody's watching it.
And they wanted the bonus as well to pay into the like the actual agency and to the Actors Guild, right? And they just overstepped their hand in a lot of ways. And there is, guys, if you go look it up, you can find it. There is a breakdown of how the new residuals work, but they basically say that it's meritocratic, that it's going to be based on the shows that actually do well, which everyone here has been saying forever anyways. The ones who make good content are the ones who should be rewarded for their work, and the people who are just hanging on should go by the wayside.
Initially, what they wanted to do, which is foolish, nobody's going to sign any deal like that, is they just wanted the numbers from the revenue. And it's like, just because a company is bringing in an X amount of money does not mean that they're profitable per se. So they wanted money off the top regardless. It's like, who the hell would sign a deal? Maybe you make some money after we've made money, but you can't just get a certain percentage of X amount of money that we bring in for everything it is that we produce. That is absolutely asinine. And the fact they thought that they were going to get that is crazy. But yeah, it makes sense. If something becomes profitable, the creatives are going to be the ones benefiting, from it. However, I just don't see that in streaming. I don't see that being that many shows or movies. Hardly anybody's going to be getting money.
They want residuals from Orange is the New Black, like 12 years later.
But also, this is also because actors are, in a lot of ways, they're activists and they're champagne socialists, and they don't understand how business works.
They're talent. Of course they don't understand how business works, and I don't hold that against them. I hold the strike against them.
No, yeah, like I don't hold it against them to not understand business. I do hold it against them to not understand business, but then make demands of people that do. Yeah. And that's not absolving Netflix or any of these companies who do plenty of shady shit all the time, right? Nobody's absolving them of that. We got a $20 one here from Nathan Rayner says, came home from work yesterday to my wife watching The Night Agents. Okay, so
some people watch The Night
We've met somebody now who's
there are a couple more people in the chat that said they liked it.
Maybe they'll get some residuals.
See, well, here's the thing. Like, my favorite show that's come out in the last 3 years was Reacher on Amazon Prime, right?
Reacher 2 just came out, right?
Exactly. So the first 3 episodes just came out. Now they're doing weekly releases after that because they realized that the show is actually enjoyable. So now people are going to tune in for longer. So I would like to see a show like that be rewarded, and it was. It got a season 3 renewal before the new season even started. I want to see shows that do well be rewarded for it, because that's how you actually organically change the economy for all of these properties, right? Yeah. You can't let these things be propped up by business investment and by funny numbers and ideology, but there is a lot of that still.
Well, the thing is, if they do move it more to meritocracy, there's a lot of these guys ain't making it on the other side. And I think that's what's scary for really everybody that's involved, actors, actresses, directors. Yeah, you get a benefit when you work with a multi-billion-dollar multinational company. However, if they start cracking down on things and really, hey, man, we're just going to go with what works, there's going to be a lot less titles, a lot less shows, a lot less movies. I'm okay with that. I have no issues with that you couldn't possibly consume all the content that's out there. But yeah, a lot of these guys aren't going to make it on the other side because they've been effectively these mega corporate entities. I talk about this in Marvel and DC all the time. They're the sugar daddies of these industries. And I think they're at least somewhat smart enough to understand it. May be economically illiterate, but they're smart enough to understand that if those go away, which is why they wanted to enter a deal with the devil, because if those go away, where do they go? Yeah. They can't like create their own properties and start making money off of that. No, the only way that they're going to make money doing what it is that they love to do, even if it's being an activist or masquerading as one, whatever you want to call it, is to work for these mega corporate entities. So it was in their best interest to, was the AMTPT or whatever it's called, to make a deal with them. They can bitch and moan all day long and cry and say, oh, well, these guys are greedy. Well, you need them at the end of the day, and they knew that.
They don't need you, you need them, because they can hire people to make new properties if they want.
Yeah.
But the other thing that's funny about that is, if you remember, the comic book industry eventually did have to, Marvel had to sell off a lot of their characters back in the day. They had to sell off the rights.
They almost went under, bankrupt in the late 90s.
They had to sell. I mean, there's a reason why they spent so much money to reacquire the X-Men and the Fantastic Four, and they would love to have Spider-Man back, but they're never going to give him back.
Sony's not giving that up.
They're not going to. The other thing that's funny about that is, you were talking about branching out, and you have to do more than just you can't just do just the movies, you can't do just the TV shows or just the parks. Spider-Man, whether you read the comics or not, everywhere you go, you'll see a kid wearing a Spider-Man shirt to this day. Mm-hmm. Like, Batman and Spider-Man are the most popular superheroes of all time, and that shows in merch, not just in people who read the comics, because the comic book marketplace has shrunk so much now that it's just not going to do the numbers they need to survive.
Yeah. Look, man, we want to go down that rabbit hole of those guys. Look, it is very well possible. I'm not going to say it is going to happen, but let's say this. If we're talking about Warner and their problems, if they came out today and said, hey, the publication stuff, we're ending that, I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised at all, because there's no way that they're making money off that. To be fair, the economic setup of comics has never made any damn sense. The direct market is retarded. I'm sorry, I can't find a better word than that. That's just what it is. It doesn't make any damn sense. And then you start to put the pieces together. When you actually look into it, you find out, okay, there's a reason why these companies have changed hands so many damn times. There's a reason why the rights got split in the first place, and Marvel was basically split up between the publication and the IP versus the merchandise and the TV and the movies. Reason being is because they found out that this part of it was profitable, but that other part of it was not. And that was the part that Toy Biz had to sort of bail out in the late 90s. It was never really a place where people went to make money, and I think it's largely because of the economic setup. So a lot of what we see, even in the mainstream stuff, I think crosses over as far as like Hollywood and everything. If it may have happened in the comics first, there's a lot of economic illiteracy, and people are Marvel and DC, well, Disney and Warner or Discovery, that's the sugar daddy of the industry. And this is why they fight like hell. We'll talk about the cancel pig situation later, but this is why they fight like hell to protect that, because they understand if all that goes away tomorrow, there is no spot for them. There's nothing for them. They can't do it on their own.
Thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media, and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.